Yo, what the fuck is going down, everybody? It's your boy Sauceman X. I'm checking back at you niggas with another goddamn video today. But anyways, man, we're back with another political video with this goddamn bitch. And you already see this by the title, so this video is obviously going to be about America. Okay, this video is clearly going to be about America, and we already know this video is going to be about why America is not racist. Okay, why this entire country is not racist, and even why a significant portion of this entire country's history was not fucking racist. Okay, I'm going to be explaining that, and I'm also going to be exposing liberal hypocrisy, okay, leftist hypocrisy, and what they deem to be racist in this entire country's history, and why it isn't necessarily racist. Well, you know what I'm saying, a lot of it is not actually racist, and they want to, you know, make it seem like everything is racist because obviously, okay, this country's history hasn't been perfect. Okay, there's been negatives, there's been positives, but they want to only focus on the negative, and they want to declare all the positive things this country stands for as complete racism and complete white supremacy, while contradicting themselves all the time because their logic makes no sense and it always falls apart. So I'm going to be exposing that. And I'm going to be exposing, you know what I'm saying, more leftist hypocrisy and how they want to keep racism alive, and actually what this country should be standing for, okay, based on the founding fathers, and actually what they, you know, essentially laid down the foundation for this entire country and how it applies today. And I'm going to be exposing more liberal hypocrisy even when it comes to that. So we already know, okay, we already know that this entire country's history, America overall, is not a racist nation today, okay? Maybe it was a racist nation at a particular point in time, but not necessarily throughout the entirety of this country's history, which we already know leftists, they want to see it where it doesn't exist, and they want to only look at the negatives. So we already know, okay, let me just get right on into the shit. So one of the main counter arguments that people like to make, okay, leftists try to make, they try to say that this entire fucking country's history is racist is because of slavery, okay, because we already know slavery was obviously a very negative part of this entire country's history. We already know, okay, slavery, okay, it was literally a negative part of this entire country's history. And we already know that essentially, okay, when slavery started, it was already a worldwide thing, okay? It was already a worldwide thing. And if you wanted to, you know what I'm saying, rapidly increase, you know what I'm saying, your country economically, you would have to actually go in and get fucking slaves. And of course, it was a terrible fucking thing to do, to actually make human beings, force human beings to, you know, be slaves to begin with. But we already know it was literally a worldwide thing. And obviously, that was a negative part of basically incentivize more racism against black people in this country. And we already know, okay, if you actually look into the facts of the situation, if you actually look into the context of the situation, slaves, okay, we already know slavery, when slavery ended, okay, obviously slavery, that was a point in time where America was racist, but if you actually look into the context of the situation, slavery ended, okay, slavery ended in the United States in around 1865, and we already know that white people, okay, white people across Europe and in the United States were the first people, okay, white, you know what I'm saying, white people, white Europeans were the first people to actually go in and end slavery to begin with, and we already know the entire Republican Party was formed, and Republicans wanted to end slavery during the Civil War. And if you actually look into even more context of the situation, only 1% of Americans, okay, only 1% of white people that were alive during slavery actually owned slaves. Only 1% of them, okay, literally only 1% of white people. And of course, you know what I'm saying, leftists today, they try to make it seem like racism, you know what I'm saying, is rampant just because of the entire country's history and you know what I'm saying, and white people and how their ancestors were slave owners. But we already know that most white people's ancestors were not even slave owners. And if you actually look into even more of the context of the situation, when slavery ended, okay, when slavery ended, there was literally white people that actually went in, okay, white people that actually went in and ended fucking slavery, okay, they fought in the Civil War, okay, there was white people who fought in the Civil War to end slavery, okay, and if you actually look at the Union or the North during the Civil War, we already know that those were the people that wanted to end slavery, and there was the, you know, most people that were, you know, living in the United States during the Civil War were living in the North, okay, it was a small minority of people who were living in the South, which is why they lost the Civil War. But there was more people who lived in the North that wanted to end slavery. So the vast majority, okay, of white people were in support of ending slavery during the Civil Rights Movement because they knew that that's not what America was supposed to stand for. And basically, they actually fought for black people's freedom. And it actually fucking happened. And if you actually look into the context of the situation even more, if you actually look at the people that wanted to continue slavery, okay, it was the Democrats. And that's another huge point I wanted to get into to expose more leftist hypocrisy, is that when you actually look into, you know, the people that wanted to continue slavery, it was clearly the Confederates. It was clearly the Democrats, okay? It was clearly the Confederates. If you look into Jim Crow laws, they were also implemented by the Democrats, and it was also the KKK implemented by the Democrats. So it's hilarious, okay? It's honestly hilarious that people on the left, okay, people on the left today want to hold this entire country accountable for all of the negative things that's happened throughout history, such as slavery, and completely blame it on white supremacy. But when you tell them, okay, that the Democratic Party was the reason for all of that, then all of a sudden they switch their narrative, and they want to say that, oh, you know what I'm saying, they go in and try to defend the Democratic Party, and all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, they don't take it as seriously just when you tell them the Democratic Party implemented, and it shows you that it's all based on emotion and it's not actually based on knowing the truth, because the truth doesn't actually fit their narrative when you look into the context of the situation. So slavery, it was obviously, you know what I'm saying, not a perfect time. Of course, there was lots of racism, But there's a lot of people who wanted to end slavery, you know what I'm saying? In slavery, most people didn't own slaves, okay? Most people probably deep down were against slavery, you know, especially, you know, as it rolled around in the, you know, the 19th century. So where do you know? Okay, going on to the next point of the video is obviously this entire country's history. In other words, what this country actually fucking stands for, okay? Actually stands for that Abraham Lincoln fought for, you know what I'm saying, in the Civil War for black people to, you know what I'm saying, have, you know, at least be freed as slaves. So where do you know? And you actually look into the founding fathers of this country, okay? Where do you know that leftists, they want to make it seem like this entire country, okay? This entire country's history was founded off of racism and white supremacy. But the only reason why they're saying that, okay, is that the people who founded this country, you know what I'm saying, who came in and colonized the land, they were actually people that just happened to be white. So what they're doing, okay, is they're telling all minorities and everyone in this country that you should not be proud of this country's history. You should completely go against this entire country's history just because the people that founded this country just happen to be white. And I'm exposing that fucking hypocrisy. We know that's clearly a racist narrative to completely, you know what I'm saying, ignore, you know what I'm saying, and just completely disregard this entire country's history just because the people happen to be white, and it just exposes more hypocrisy, okay? Exposes so much more hypocrisy. And where do you know? Okay, when you actually look into the consequences of the situation, this country was not founded off of white supremacy. If you actually look at the facts, this country was founded off of people that wanted to flee religious and political persecution, which leads me on to the main point of the video, okay, which is obviously America's traditional values, okay, traditional American values. This country, okay, was clearly, okay, without question, founded on freedom, okay? This country was clearly founded off of freedom. It was founded off of, you know what I'm saying, having personal freedom, having personal liberty, having more rights than any other country, you know what I'm saying, in the entire fucking world, because they were literally fleeing fucking prosecution. They were fleeing religious and political prosecution, and they also, you know what I'm saying, wanted to flee a tyrannical government, to the point where they actually went in and they actually colonized this entire country, and they actually made this entire country the way it is now, or the way it was, you know what I'm saying, at that particular point in time. They literally wanted people to have more personal freedom and actually have minimal government interference, which is why we literally have a constitution. Is clearly the greatest, you know what I'm saying, constitution in the world right now. You know what I'm saying? There's really no other country that, you know, explicitly says that you have all these individual rights than the United States of America, because the founding fathers, okay, wanted this country to be free, and they wanted individual freedom over big government, okay, over any kind of tyrannical rule. And we already know that slavery was tyrannical, but of course, the people that actually understood what the founding fathers actually stood for corrected that imperfection that was actually, you know, existing in the past by ending slavery to begin with. So obviously it wasn't perfect, but it was founded off of individual liberty, and we are literally all subsequent results of what our founding fathers stood for, okay, and much better, you know what I'm saying, than other countries. You know what I'm saying? This was, you know, the United States is one of the main reasons why Western civilization is better than, you know what I'm saying, than the Eastern civilization, because of what the United States stood for in terms of not having tyrannical rule, having a right to bear arms, having, you know what I'm saying, all the personal freedoms, having capitalism, personal responsibility above all else. So where do you know? Okay, we already know it's literally what the founding fathers stood for, and there was no white supremacy in that, okay? There was literally no white supremacy in that, other than the fact that slavery was still a thing back then. And of course, they want to say the Native Americans, for example, like, oh, all the Native Americans died, which we already know, you know what I'm saying, pretty much any country to ever exist has been, you know what I'm saying, due to colonized land, okay? Literally every country to ever exist, pretty sure a lot of people in the United States, you know what I'm saying, that are leftists would completely, you know, try to support any other fucking country, but we already know that every country that ever existed is based on some type of colonialization, and we already know, okay, literally colonialization. So we already know what the left tries to do is that they only want to look at the negative and say that you should disregard this entire country's history by only looking at the negative, which makes absolutely no fucking sense, even though the Native Americans themselves, you know, weren't actually perfect themselves. Apparently Native Americans also owned slaves. Nobody's fucking perfect. So we already know, okay, white people, you know what I'm saying, were the first to end slavery, and actually the founding fathers wanted more personal freedom, were all subsequent results of that. And we already know, okay, when you look into the civil rights movement, okay, when you look at people like Martin Luther King himself agreed, okay, Martin Luther King himself agreed, and this is the main fucking point of the video, you know, I'm exposing more liberal hypocrisy, which is why, you know what I'm saying, they actually would want to call me, or they would want to call anyone else that's a black conservative that disagrees with the radical narrative, they want to call us an Uncle Tom and a coon just because we say this. But we already know that Martin Luther King himself, okay, actually went in and actually supported this entire country's history. He supported all of America's traditional values, okay? He literally said himself, okay, that's the, you know, and that was also one of the main reasons for why Martin Luther King even fought for fucking civil rights in the first place, because he knew that what America stood for. and the personal liberty and the personal freedom that America stood for. And obviously, you know what I'm saying, at that time during the civil rights movement, black people did not have the individual freedoms that this country was supposed to promise to them. So Martin Luther King wanted to actually change that. Okay, he actually wanted to change that and integrate everyone, you know, racially integrate this entire country to where we can all embrace America and all embrace America's traditional values and live up to what it's supposed to meet up to. Okay, just perfecting the imperfections. That's exactly what Martin Luther King stood for. Okay, he actually looked forward. He acknowledged the past. He acknowledged the positives and the negatives, and he wanted to move forward to perfect society. And that's exactly, okay, what led to the 21st century, which is obviously the great work that Martin Luther King did. So if he's an uncle, if we're Uncle Toms because we're saying this, then so is Martin Luther King, because he also agreed with that entire situation. But we already know, when you look at leftists today, okay, we've literally come so far. We actually, you know what I'm saying, by actually moving forward and actually looking forward and actually integrating, okay, you know, every single race and every single, you know what I'm saying, religious background or political background into this country, okay, we've taken in more immigrants and we have literally become the most tolerant and inclusive society in the 21st century. They want to only look at the negative, okay? They want to do the exact opposite of what Martin Luther King stood for, which is judge people by the color of their skin and literally try to say, okay, literally try to go in and say, you know what I'm saying, that you should be against this entire country, you should be against this entire country's history because it's white supremacy. Basically, they want more racial segregation. They want to segregate all minorities away from white people. They want minorities to feel less American in this country, even though they're born in this country. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to, you know, and they only want to overtly conceptualize the negative in this country and completely disregard the positive as also being negative. You know what I'm saying, based on some racially divisive rhetoric, which completely goes against, which is the hypocrisy that I was going to expose. It completely goes against what Martin Luther King stood for. It completely went against, again, it completely disregards all of the people that happen to be white, that actually fought to free slaves, okay, that actually fought to help this fucking country, and actually, you know what I'm saying, perfected this country based on the traditional values that it was supposed to meet up to, okay, based on, you know what I'm saying, the lack of government tyranny. That what was supposed to fucking happen based on what the founding fathers have said. So we already know, okay, that we're literally just try to meet up to that and we're progressing forward. And now, okay, the main fucking point for why America is clearly, okay, so this entire country's history, there's lots of positives into it, and of course there's negatives and racism, but we got rid of that as much as we possibly can. And the only racism that's in this country is obviously individual people that are racist, okay? There's no systems of oppression. It doesn't fucking exist. And we already know, okay, right now we are living in the 21st century, okay, where literally everyone of any race can become successful. This entire country has taken in more immigrants, okay, has taken in more immigrants than any country to ever exist, of every fucking background. As I said, if any religious background, of any race, any gender, doesn't fucking matter. You know what I'm saying? Everyone, you know, got these individual rights. And now America is literally the most free and tolerant and inclusive society to ever fucking exist. And this is all because, okay, the founding fathers who actually went in and laid down the foundation for actually setting up an entire country that's based on personal freedom over a tyrannical government and giving you actual personal freedom and actually, you know, and actual rights. Okay, when you compare, you know, the United States to other countries, there's a lot more fucking tyranny, such as, you know, communist regimes. There's a lot more fucking tyranny in these other countries. They didn't exist in the United States because we literally were founded off of Judeo-Christian values and personal freedom and capitalism, which eventually leads to a prosperous society, which is obvious reason, okay, for why we've taken in the most immigrants, because people actually know how great America is, and you know what I'm saying, the greatness that this country stands for everyone of every single race or every single ethnicity, okay? We literally progressed forward to where the racism that did exist in this country are no longer that much of a legitimate issue, to the point where anyone can be successful of any race. And this was all because of the founding fathers, okay? So that's what the left tries to do. They try to, you know, create a racist narrative and racially divide the country and say that you can't be proud of being an American because of this fucking history, and only focusing on the negatives and looking backwards, okay? They look backwards and they try to implement more racial segregation and implement more racism against white people, doing the exact opposite of what Martin Luther King wanted to do, which is obviously move this country forward, okay? Move this country forward, accept the positive, accept the negatives, and continue to progress towards a better society and meet up to what the actual founding fathers wanted, okay? Or to what, you know what I'm saying, what the actual founding fathers meant in terms of liberty and justice for all, okay? Literally for every single person. That's exactly what's happening today. Okay, that's exactly what's happening today. But unfortunately, leftists are brainwashing and gaslighting communities to only focus on race and be racist and try to create a revolution against this entire country, which they openly admit they want to create more racial division, obviously, and they want to literally create a revolution against this entire fucking country because they hate everything that it stands for. But we already know we're the most tolerant and inclusive society due to the founding fathers. And, okay, And obviously, when you actually look at the, the founding fathers and everything like that, you literally also, okay, have the immigration system, okay, the United States, okay, we literally, just because we want to enforce immigration laws, we're considered xenophobic, because that's how many people actually want to come into this country. We're considered xenophobic just because we actually want to implement immigration laws, because there's so many people that want to actually come in and experience the American dream, well, plenty of other first world countries have immigration laws, nobody has a problem with that, so we already know that we've taken in more immigrants, we have literally, created an amazingly prosperous society. Anyways, tell me what you think in the comment section of this shit. It's your boy, the Sauceman X. I'm checking the fucking out of your peace.